Hey guys! So as you can see by the title of this video and the warning that came beforehand, this is not the most happy video I've ever posted in my life, but it's something that I've been thinking about for a couple of days and I feel the need to share. I don't know why, but I think because if this can reach one person and they don't feel quite as alone, then that's what really matters, because I don't want anybody to feel the same things I did and end up in the same places I've been and still am in at times. I mean, let me be honest, I woke up this morning feeling sad, but this is gonna be the vlog for today because it's a Sunday and my sister is not picking me up until later, and so I'm just gonna record this and then upload it and then paint and chill out. But it's just something I feel like needs to be talked about more because people don't talk about it a lot. And yeah, so this is going to be my story with depression and a little bit of anxiety, but I think I'm going to talk more about the depression side of things because that's what's more on my mind right now. And so here's that. I don't know how this video is going to turn out. I'm going to try not to cut it too much or anything like that, and I am just going off what's on my mind. I haven't written any notes out for this video, and so here goes nothing, I guess. Honestly, this makes me kind of nervous, but it's just something I feel like it's important to share. So I don't know how well this is going to turn out. I don't know if I'm going to post this. This is already my second time trying to record this, so here goes nothing. But if I want to start at the beginning, I have to go back to June, July of last year, 2020, because that's really kind of where it started. It started with the pandemic, and yeah, so let's just begin. So I'm going to try not to make this super long. Last summer, so even before last summer, let me back up a little bit. In between that time period of when COVID-19 first came out, March of last year through June, I was coping with it, I think, all right. I was making a lot of those parody videos, some of them I cringe at this moment. I was just trying to spread light and positivity. I put up that sign in our window that says Stay Strong Florida, which is still there a year later. And I was just trying my best to be productive and make the most of what quarantine was. And I'm getting things in my Facebook memories now of like a year ago today. I was deep cleaning the house, so I was managing with it okay, and I still can't explain what happened in between that summertime, but something in me last summer seemed to change. It was around the late June when I first started noticing that I just wasn't feeling like myself. I was sad a lot of the time. I was like, I wouldn't describe it as bored, but just like didn't have the to want to do anything, and just didn't feel like myself. But I was trying to just kind of ignore it at that point in time because it was this internal struggle of, yes, the pandemic has been a lot, but I kind of knew myself as always this happy-go-lucky person. I'd always been told my entire life that I was strong, and everybody loved that I was such a positive person, and I didn't see it as, I was like, this isn't me, this is just gonna go away. And it didn't. Don't ignore it. That was a bad idea because over the couple of weeks it got worse. And I remember I went to Arkansas in that time period because I had a pulmonary appointment, and so I was in Arkansas, and the change in routine did help me a little bit. I was hanging out with Blondie again. I miss her so much. I haven't seen her in 5 months. I was hanging out with Blondie. I was it was a different routine, so it helped. And I remember it was towards that last week that I was in Arkansas that suddenly my coping things weren't working like they were. I was crying, hanging out with Blondie. I was just not hungry anymore. And I didn't really understand what was going on because this had never happened to me before. The only experience I'd had with these kind of feelings was grief, and this was not grief. And so I just kind of pushed through it, and when I got home, well, in that last week, I did reach out to the social worker in my CF team. Wow, the cat's being really distracting. I reached out to the social worker. She's like, Ninja. Okay, whatever. I reached out to the social worker in my CF team, and I kind of told them what was going on, and they got me connected with a therapist that was going to be in Florida. And so I kind of knew I had that coming up. It was like, what was it? I think it was like July 11th or something like that. And so I was like, okay, that'll fix things. And so I kind of just did what I kind of like had this little bit of like peace in that time frame. And so I just enjoyed that last week in Arkansas. And then I came home, and I remember something like when I came home, I realized that, you know, I'm actually not happy. Like I remember I came home from the airport. I think it was a late flight. I woke up the next morning and I just cried for like 4 hours because I didn't know what to do. Like I felt so, I can't even describe it. I just didn't feel like myself. And so I fast forward, that was July 10th. And I think it wasn't the next day. It may have been a couple days later. I had the therapy appointment, and it was okay, but it wasn't really what I was expecting it to be, because it was the first appointment. It was just a bunch of questions. And then after that, I remember feeling like, well, that didn't help me very much. And so I just kept pushing through, and I kept trying to do the best that I could. And I somehow managed to get through July. I remember in the around the time frame of my birthday last year, I woke up and I was like, it's my birthday, why am I not happy? Like, I love usually my birthday like most people do, and I was just not myself. Everybody was happy and smiling, and I put up this facade of smiling because you know, it was my birthday, I didn't want to worry people, but on the inside I remember just feeling so off. And to not make this video incessantly long, I'm just gonna kind of recap last year. Between July and I would say September is when I ended up being in one of my darkest periods I have ever been in, and I would like to say it was the last one. It was unfortunately not, but we'll get to that later. Between that time period, I was just not in the good place mentally. I remember so many days I'd wake up that I didn't really want to. I remember getting up and then just leaning against the wall, against the kitchen, because I would go up, make coffee or whatever. I just couldn't even get all the way to the kitchen. I just leaned against the wall and just start crying. I was crying all the time, and I guess it was my way of releasing it. But eventually even that stopped working, and it wasn't that I was alone. I had the therapy appointments, I had talked to friends and family, but nobody really knew, except for one or two people, how dark down I was at that point in time. And August of 2020, I think, was the first time that I ever actually hurt myself. And that's really hard for me to say because there's only like one person that knows what happened then, but one or two people. But it wasn't like something that I intentionally had thought out. It was something in the moment where I just couldn't handle what I was feeling anymore mentally. And so I was like extremely irrationally thought that, okay, well, if I can't handle the mental pain, then physical pain will make it easier. And it sounds so stupid saying that, and you can't understand it unless you've been there. But something in you just makes it that it's easier. It's a distraction, and it's easier. And throughout all of August, that pretty much was going on, and I don't remember exactly what made me stop. I knew in the back of my mind that this is not okay, this is not acceptable, and it's something that I needed to get a grip on before it got even worse. And when I say hurt myself, it wasn't like you're probably envisioning. It was just with my fingernails, but it was still not okay regardless. And so it was something that I just resolved and made a promise to myself that I would never do again. And I did keep that promise for several months. but we'll get to that later. So over that summer of last year was when I was definitely in my darkest place, and around the September time it started lifting a little bit because I had things that was happening in my life that were wonderful, and I kind of focused on that, and it kind of helped me get out of my funk a little bit. And my nephew was born in early October, and in September we found out that he was going to be induced to that time, and so it was something that I was really looking forward to, and I knew the holidays were coming up, and it was just one of my favorite times of year, and so I felt it starting to lift in September. And I remember the first day I felt happy again. I don't remember exactly what day it was, but I just remember the first time I felt happy again, I was like, this huge sigh of relief that, wow, I'm actually happy again. And it lasted for a couple of months. The October, November time was pretty good. I was enjoying, you know, my nephew was born, and November, I don't even remember why, but November was just a really good month. I got my hair finally cut after having quarantine hair. I visited with my mom. My mom came down here in October and visited with us, which is the first time she'd been in Florida in a couple of years. And those 2 months just felt like I thought that, okay, maybe I've gotten through the worst of this now. Maybe, yeah, that sucked and that was weird and that was not me, but I've been through it now. And the thing that shocked me was December. It came back. Of all months, December. The early December was pretty hard for me because I ended up in the emergency room with a twisted intestine and almost had to have emergency surgery and all that. And I don't think that's what started it off, because it was later in December. But December was a really hard month even without the depression, but it was, with the depression, it was just not a great month. And December was a blur. Honestly, December was a blur. But what I remember from December was that Christmas Eve, which is like one of my favorite times of the year because I love Christmas. If you guys know anything about me, I am a total Christmas person, and Christmas is my #1 favorite time of the year. And I remember Christmas Eve, I was making pies and, you know, getting ready for Christmas dinner the next day and stuff, and I was not happy. And I was literally laying by the Christmas tree crying on Christmas Eve, and then upset because I was upset. And around that same time was when the thoughts came back of self-harm, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do this again. I made this promise to myself that I'm not going to do it again, and I didn't. And Christmas was good. Christmas, I woke up the next day and I felt like the weight had lifted again, and I was like, all right, it's Christmas and New Year's is coming up pretty soon, and I can put all this behind me. You know, maybe this was 2020, it's 2021 now. Maybe this was 2020 and I can just put all this behind me now. And so between that time period of Christmas, after what happened on Christmas Eve, between that time period of Christmas and New Year's, I was again doing pretty good. I was so excited for 2021. I was ready for the fresh start. I was ready for just putting what 2020 had done to me in the past and thinking that, okay, well, now that this is over, everything's gonna be wonderful. And I was a little bit naive on that point, but I had hope. I had so much hope for the new year. And so we flip over the calendar into 2021, and I don't remember exactly when it was. January was, the first couple of weeks of January were hard, but they weren't that bad that I can remember, that I can think back. And you think I remember it because it was like 2 months ago, but I don't. Which, if I don't remember it that much, I have to think, well, it wasn't that bad. February of this year was pretty good. I was celebrating 1 year on Trikafta. I was, you know, just trying to live my best life pandemic-wise that you can, and trying to take in the new year. And then we come to March, and this is a very brief overview of everything that happened in those couple months, but I'm trying not to make this video 10 million times long. So then we come to March, and it's almost April, and I'm very glad for that, because March has been one of the hardest times I've been through. The darkness that I felt that last summer was different than the darkness that I felt this month. And the fact that that was the first time it ever happened to me, I was still learning what the heck was going on, and I was miserable, let me put it out there, but I was thinking that this is a one and done kind of thing. And then we come to this month, and the first couple days of it were great. It was a new month, it was weird, and part of me wonders if, because it's March and it triggered a lot of past feelings about COVID starting last year, if that could be part of why this hit me so hard this month. But this month, or I guess I did skip over something. It wasn't this month, it was last month, February, that I was, sorry, this video is all over the place. It was last month in February, that towards the end of February, that I started feeling the same kind of feelings that I had over summer and over Christmas time. And this time I kind of gave into them only once, and it was something that I didn't really think before I did it. None of them I've ever thought about. I've never sat there and thought, I want to hurt myself. I just couldn't handle what I was feeling again in the moment, and just kind of snapped, and then was kind of angry with myself afterwards because I'd held this promise for so long to myself and to others, and then I just kind of went and threw it away again. But it was a one-time thing in February, and hasn't happened since. Hopefully will never happen again, but it did. And so then as we entered into March, I was happy, and then the middle of March, 2 weeks ago, let's say 2 weeks ago, I entered into what I would consider the second darkest time, if not the darkest time I have ever been in. It had been about a week, maybe a little bit longer than that, of every day I woke up and I just felt terrible. I woke up and I didn't want to. I was trying to put on this facade of I'm okay, but at some point I just couldn't anymore. And nothing, literally nothing, was making me happy. I would go take a walk, I would paint, I would, you know, spend time with Panda. I completely lost my appetite and pretty much stopped eating. I was just so consumed with everything that was circling around in my head that I couldn't handle the outside life. And I reached a really, really dark place that hit me really quickly, and it still surprises me to this day that it could hit me that quickly. It was around 2 weeks ago that I had thoughts that I don't want to do it anymore. I can't do this anymore. I can't handle how I'm feeling. I can't handle if this is going to keep coming back. I keep having a couple good months and then I feel broken. I was alone in the house that night and just sat there and cried for a long time, and then just broke, just completely broke. I didn't want to reach out to anybody anymore. I didn't want to listen to music anymore, and I think that was the straw that broke everything, because through all of this, last summer, Christmas time, February, all of it, music was the one thing that kept me comforted, that kept me feeling something. And that day, music wasn't doing anything either. And nothing was doing anything. I tried to watch YouTube, I tried to do whatever I could, and it just wasn't working anymore. And that was the lowest point I've ever been in my life, because I came very close to just saying, forget about it. Just forget about it. In that moment in time, life didn't feel like it was worth living anymore. And it still shocks me to think about that I could be there, because even now when I'm not feeling completely like myself, I want to be alive. Like, life is wonderful even when it's hard, but in that moment it wasn't. Nothing was worth living for anymore. And I'm really glad that I did end up texting somebody and telling them how I was feeling, because if I hadn't, I don't know if I'd be talking to you guys right now. I remember it was a couple days after that day, I was sitting in my sister's house, thinking about everything that had happened, and I thought, this one thought came to my mind that stuck with me. It was like 3 days later, I was like, today could have like been my funeral. And in that moment, I can't describe how I was feeling. I was just so many things going through my head. And I did end up finally telling the therapist about some of these things, which I think helped. It was something that I hadn't really told her before, because I was really scared of like being put in a mental hospital, because just no shame, but for me personally, I know that would make things a lot worse. And so I finally told her about some of these things, and we worked through them, and we're still working through them. I have 2 appointments next month. But I remember after that day where I pretty much just gave up, I just didn't fight it anymore. I just went to bed, which is a really good thing I did. And I woke up the next morning and I felt this strange sense of calm, this strange, like, something shifted again, but in a good way. I woke up and I noticed the sunlight for the first time in a while. And I woke up and I remember walking around and noticing the spring flowers and thinking about how beautiful they were. And looking at Panda and seeing him wagging his tail and tasting things again, tasting my coffee instead of just drinking it for energy, actually tasting it. And I remember the first time I laughed and I felt like, hey, I actually laughed with joy. And I smiled because I was feeling joy. And then I just felt like something, and I can't explain it. I just felt like something had changed, and I felt like myself again. I went from being at the lowest point I've ever been in my life to suddenly life was great. And I can't explain it, and I still can't explain it. I have no explanation for it, but the past 2 weeks, it has been better. It has been lifting. I remember one night just laying in bed smiling like an idiot because I was smiling, and I was happy that I was smiling, and actually for legit reason. Well, legit reason of I was happy to be alive. I was really happy that I had not given up. And so that's what I want to end this video with, because I don't know how to wrap this up. What is the cat doing? That if you are somebody who is in your lowest point right now, I want you to know that it does get better. And I'm not going to say that it's going to be peaches and roses, because I had about 4 or 5 days of where my mind was clear, my heart was light, and life was great. And then I've had 2 days, the past 2 days, where I've been having allergic reactions to something that I have a suspicion might be peanut butter at this point, which is a little bit weird, but I'm not going to eat anymore until I talk to my doctor about it, because I had another allergic reaction yesterday after I ate a peanut butter sandwich. And it's triggered up a lot of old feelings from 2017 where I had that massive reaction where I stopped breathing and almost died. And so it's brought up a lot of panic, a lot of anxiety, a lot of like constantly checking if I'm swelling up, which is something that happened in 2017, which I'm not sure if many people even know about that. I acted like I was happy when I got out of the hospital, but I was not. I was damaged after all that. And it's something that I thought I had completely buried until the last 2 days, and it's kind of resurfaced, and so it's been a little bit of a fight. And I kind of woke up a little bit sad this morning because of that, because I didn't feel the same joy that I did. But I also know that I am a million times better than I was 2 weeks ago, and I know that if I can feel that joy then I can feel that joy again. And it's never worth giving up the fight, because that's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to get you anywhere. There is nothing better about losing. And so I am okay. I am a lot better than I was then, and I will find my light again. I'm hoping it's just because of the recent events, but I just wanted to put this video out there because if there's anybody else that watches this and gets help from it, you're not alone. You're not alone. I know when I was going through the worst of the depression that I wanted to isolate myself. I didn't want to talk to people because I felt like a burden. My mind would play this trick of they're just there tolerating you. They're just there because they have to be, you know, and that's not the truth. The truth is people care about you, and people would care about you if you were gone. And that was the one thing that kept me holding on, was I can't do that to my friends and family. So my camera's running out of space, so I'm going to end this here, but just know you're not alone. Well, that was a rude interruption. My camera ran out of storage. But I was just going to say that just know you're not alone. Just know that, you know, if you need to, talk to me in the YouTube comments. Talk to somebody. Tell somebody. You're not a burden. You're not a mistake. You're not a failure. You're not anything that your mind tells you. You're not your anxiety. You're not your depression. You're you. And you is wonderful, and you is breathing, and you is lucky to be alive on this planet, and even when days feel impossible, you're still here. And that's something that I've learned, that I am not losing the fight because I'm sad today, or I'm anxious today, or I had a panic attack last night. I'm not losing the fight because I can't control it and be happy all the time. I'm winning the fight because I'm still here. And even when my mind tried to tell me that it wasn't worth it to be here, I'm still here. And so are you if you're watching this video. So please stay here with me. Stay here. Whatever it takes to get you through the day, stay here. I know how hard it is to fight, and I almost lost, but I didn't. And if you're watching this, you didn't lose either. So talk to somebody, tell somebody, and keep fighting. Find that one thing that keeps you alive. Whatever it is, find it, and hold on to it until you want to be alive. Because it works, and I'm proof that it does. So thank you guys for giving me your time today. I know that this ended up really long because I just didn't really know where I wanted to go with it, but it's just something I felt the need to share. And my day is going to be painting, and my sister's going to pick me up later. I'm going to start another week of watching my nephew, and gonna keep in the fight. So keep in the fight with me, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Good night. I guess that's a little bit weird.